Hello and welcome back to the Movie Pope podcast. And today we are taking a look at Madam Web, this Sony movie, which is supposed to be the latest in its venture into the Spider Verse. Well, does it really match our expectations? Well, we're
What
about to find out.
expectations?
Well, we're
What
about to find out.
expectations?
But before we do, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and let us know down in the comments if you agree with our assessments. And if there's a movie or TV show you'd like us to review, let us know. We are always on the lookout. All right, so Madam Web, this movie is, like I said, is the latest Sony picture to try to tie into the Spider Verse. And can I just say, we did a review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse a few weeks ago, which we definitely lauded as a really, really good example of how to do the multiverse properly, and a very well written and well acted and well designed story all around. And now this week we're at its antithesis with Madam Web, which is a period drama to say the least, which is set
It's
in
for the type, I
2003.
guess.
Set in 2003 when you and I were in school, but it's just, I mean,
I'll be watching the original, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, right?
that's right. That's right. I mean, this has been around the time that the first Spider-Man movie came out,
hmm
and with and like I said, with Sony trying to revamp its Spider-Man movie to kind of align themselves more with the more MCU. It leads to a lot of questions as to what exactly are they trying to do. Are they still trying to do their own thing, or are they trying to tie it in? But Lee, as the movie Pope, why don't you go ahead and lead us into this clusterfuck that is called Madam Web?
Yeah, this was. I mean, I think it obviously didn't get a whole lot of good press coming out. And after watching
Those
it,
damn millennials, they didn't appreciate this movie.
I know, right? Yeah, it's the audience's fault. Everyone's just some sexist guy that is just gonna hate on anything that's female, or like I said, it could just because it's just a bad movie all around. So,
Well, they're never going to admit that. So,
of course, yeah, it's easier to blame your audience, which is always a good tactic. So,
poor Ridley Scott.
yeah, exactly. Yep, another one with his film that was, like I said, definitely on the boring side, but hey, that's just me personally. So, but yeah, like Sony, like I just don't know what they're doing. So, we have the Venom sequel, which I really didn't like. I thought the first was fine. Second one just went off the deep end, and then they came out with Morbius, and I love how like everyone just sat there and memed it for so long. And then Sony was like, let's try to re-release this in theaters and see if people go to watch it again. And then it tanked again in the box office. So you had it fail twice. And then now you're creating this. And it's just like, what are you all doing? Like, I just don't get how you just like, every time you come up to bat, you strike out. And this to me is the third one.
I think
And
they've got it.
also,
I think they've got amnesia over at Sony, Lee. I think like I think they release a movie, it bombs. They wait like a few weeks, and they're like, "Huh, I don't think we've ever made a Spider-Man movie before. Let's go ahead and do another one." I mean,
yes,
and apparently it must be contagious because apparently everybody at Sony just seems to forget the last time they did a movie bombed. And I don't know. I think there might be something in the water that's making them forget. Like they're all
I don't know.
drinking
Well,
something in there.
hopefully they need to figure it out, because I don't know how many times you could tank in this Spider-Man universe before it's like you do irreparable damage to it. Because I mean, even the opening to me is just really awkward, right? Like it's just it's how you're trying to introduce the character, and I get that. I don't know anything about the Madam Web character in the comics, so it is what it is. But I imagine they're trying to stay pretty faithful to that, and just the way they do it is very awkward. So you have this super pregnant mom, right? That's out in the rainforest of Peru, and she's near, like, I mean, she looks pretty pregnant, right? Like she's probably not a full 9 months, but she's looking quite preggo, and she's just out there looking for spiders. And I know they kind of like bring up the fact that, she's looking for the spiders because, Cassie, who's the, Madam Web character, her unborn child at this stage, has like some type of genetic disease and she needs to have it or something. So, I mean, it loosely makes sense, but it just feels very odd to have that be the premise of your movie. And we also meet the villain of it, who is also there as like a researcher that I guess really wants to just steal the spider for his own gain. And he ends up shooting the mom. And you think that's going to be kind of how it just happens, but then she gets saved by this tribe of spider people, and the CGI of like them running across the treetops, it looks so phony. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Come on, you have to know that looks bad. Like we've seen Morbius and how like the weird shape, like the weird like animation of like the smoke going through, like it just trying to do something with it. It just looks terrible again. And the spider somehow like bites the mom, but we're obviously led to believe that Cassie survives, but the mom dies. My whole thing as I watched that whole sequence, as we got to the end, how did Cassie return to the States? How do you think she returned from the jungles of Peru? How do you think she made it back to the U.S., Luca? What do you think?
Well, it's simple. It was the spider people.
I know. I kind of was just sitting there like, do they just like?
I mean, because why not? Like, apparently they've been watching this entire time, and they decided, well, we'll definitely intervene now that this pregnant lady got shot. I mean, we're not gonna, do anything to say, I don't know, stop the guy from shooting the pregnant lady in the first place.
Yeah, like I said, it baffled me the whole time, and then, like I said, there's this cutaway, and it's just like, okay, you kind of have to show your work a little bit, right? Like she's in this jungle, these spider people, and they don't even like take care of her. Like we have no idea, right? We just kind of jump skip to the future. So the opening to me just kind of threw me out of it. So we get to meet our character Cassie, who's an EMT, and she's working with Ben Parker. So that's how we kind of once again get our tie-in to the Spider-Man universe, because we see good old Uncle Ben here, looking very lively, as we would hope for him to see. And it kind of shows like her driving ability, which I find awkward to have to call out, but I want to, because her driving abilities come up a lot in this movie, oddly enough.
Lee, you're from New York. I mean, surely that's how people in New York drive. I mean,
I am from New York, and I don't know how many people are experts at running people over, but that definitely seems, and I don't know, it wasn't really stated too much about her powers, but maybe she has like vehicular manslaughter powers. I don't know if that's one of the powers they want to throw in there, but that's kind of what we're looking at. And we kind of meet her as she's going to the hospital, and this little kid, right, draws a picture for her and is trying to give it to her, right? Now, if you're working with, if you're an EMT, right, and you're going out there, putting your life on the line trying to save people, do you think you're going to be a people person, or do you think you're going to be extremely awkward? Which one of those do you think you're going to land on?
Well, I imagine if you're an EMT, you're really not going to have that much time because you're going off to the next case. Because, I mean, people do get injured a lot.
That's true, especially in high populated areas. And, I would imagine that as being an EMT, you probably have a certain level of compassion for people. But then when we see Cassie, she acts like an alien, like she's never interacted with a human being before. Like she's in her 30s. Has no one ever like thanked you for saving their life, or like drawn a picture or done something nice for you? Like it's just like, why make this character like this?
I'll say that, but Lee, I'll say this. I mean, she may not be a people person, but she is a cat person. So
that's true. She does like cats, and I guess she also likes to save birds because that pops up later.
Yeah.
That's more with her powers, but yeah, kind of weird to have your, person that works with emergency services having the emotional range of a dead rock, but it is what it is. So we have Cassie. She ends up going out on another call, and her the vehicle that she's in plummets into the water as she's trying to save someone, and this is where we get her powers. And it's just kind of interesting, I guess, how they do the powers with this. I didn't really know how I felt about it. She kind of has, like I said, she has premonitions, and they kind of just seem to be random. Sometimes it's about like when she's about to die, and sometimes it's about like what her oxygenation level is. And I'm like, okay, powers, like you're gonna have to kind of pick a lane and what purpose you're trying to serve. Otherwise, you're just gonna have random powers all the time. But yeah, how did you feel like? How do you feel about the character of Cassie? Would you say?
I mean, I don't really have an issue with her interaction with people because, I don't really care about her. I just feel like I'm not quite sure what exactly her power is supposed to be because I can't tell if she's able to turn back time because you do see that on several occasions where
Yes.
where it's kind of like Edge of Tomorrow kind of shit where it's like she does something, it doesn't go well, all of a sudden she goes back to point A, does something different, and the outcome is different. And sometimes she kind of knows, what someone's, oxygen levels are like, and it's like, well, is she able to turn back time, or does she have precognition, or what exactly are they doing? I mean, like you said, pick a lane and stick with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm honestly not quite sure, like, what she's doing or how she's able to use her powers,
Yeah.
if you can
It's
even call them powers.
it's very inconsistent, and then sometimes too, I feel like she'll have like a premonition of like an hour or so in advance, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. Like, there's not really any sensible stage for it. But yeah, her powers are odd. I mean, I think you could kind of understand a good chunk of it. It just kind of gets used very inconsistently at this stage, which maybe narratively makes sense, but just kind of throws an awkward wrench into it. And then I guess we need to talk about the villain. And you told me right beforehand, what was the villain's name? Because I already forgot the villain's name again.
Sims.
Sam. No.
Yeah,
With
Sims.
Sims. Sims. Thank you. Right. So we have Sims, right? And that's our villain. That's the one that killed Cassie's mom at the beginning, to get one of the spiders. And like Sims, he's there, and like he's able to have these like, well, I said visions, but they're also probably like dreams too, because it seems like it happens when he's sleeping. I don't, however you want to describe it, but he has this idea of these three spider women, right? And I would say this is kind of one of those things that was in the trailer where we see like all three of the girls in their spider outfits. And it's just a very brief scene, but we kind of get to know about the villain, and pretty much the villain is just interested. He wants to kill them before they kill him in some unknown future. And it just kind of creates this. I don't know. The villain to me was so lackluster in this. It was really hard to be engaged with it, because so many times, like it felt like he was just like there. They ADR'd a bunch of his lines, which I found super distracting because there's times where he's not even looking at the camera and he's just like having exposition. I didn't really grasp the villain. What was your thoughts on Sims overall?
I
Just to
mean,
kind of talk about him a little bit.
they're trying to portray him as like this playboy character who's living large, but
Yeah,
apparently he's on his own, doing his own thing. What I find a bit odd, um, is the fact that he's having these visions, but they don't really go into too much detail or too much context as to why they're killing him. Right? They're just
yeah,
showing that these three girls are destined to kill him, which drives the plot of him searching for the girls and trying to eliminate them before they can eliminate him. But that's all we have to go on, and and then it becomes this question of, well, I mean, why is this happening in the first place? Like, I mean, does it say what he does that's going to lead to this, or or is it just like a random thing that happens, kind of like a
yeah.
Minority Report thing?
Yeah,
Um,
and we don't know for the most part. I mean, do we even know his premonitions are true, right? Because we don't see him actually like see or have visions of other things happening. It's just this one event that he is solely focused on.
I
And
mean, he becomes obsessed with it to the point where he kills, he kills the lady he's sleeping with, who I think she works for the CIA or something.
yeah, she worked for
Um,
some government agency. Yeah.
yeah, like he kills her to get access to some code so he can access all the cameras around the city so he can find out who these girls are. Like that becomes his like sole mission in life. Like he's
Hmm.
got nothing else he's concerned about.
Yeah, it is very, very odd how they kind of create the character, and they don't really give us a whole lot to go off of because, like, we don't see what his outside of him like could poison people. We don't really see a whole lot about his other abilities other than he just acts like a spider. So it is kind of, like I said, weird. And
Now,
I,
now,
I
now he
mean,
get now he did let the spider bite him. I'm presuming, right? Like that's how
I'm
he's
gonna
able
say
to do.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. I would say yes, but yeah, I don't know. There's never really a scene that helps us with that. Nor do we have any idea about how the three girls ever get their powers either. So there's a lot of question marks that they failed to address in this whole
I mean,
movie.
they kind of go off the assumption that we're sort of supposed to know, but but if you're creating your own separate universe, it would help to kind of like set the foundation as to who these characters are in the first place,
For
as opposed
sure.
to just seeing a bunch of girls in a spider costume and just assume, oh, we would know who they are, just like we
Mm,
would know who Madam Web is. I mean,
yeah.
most people, and I think you and I, are among those people who generally have no in-depth knowledge of the Spider Verse apart from Spider-Man and the main villains like you know
Hmm. Yes.
like Mysterio or Doc Ock or the Lizard or you know
Green Goblin.
yeah Green Goblin, yeah, obviously Green Goblin, and then
Yeah. But yeah, like you want to help explain that to your audience because that's going to be what makes up most of it. Are people that are familiar with the movies, not necessarily familiar with the comics. And to me, that really just brings up. I mean, I know we're ragging on this a lot, but to me, the worst part of it is these three girls, right, that Cassie ends up protecting throughout the film. Um, they're the worst. Like, I get that they're young and they're supposed to be teenagers, but it's almost distracting how utterly like obnoxious, bland, and boring these characters are.
I kind
Um,
of took it. I kind of took it as a as a dig against the millennials because I mean this movie was set in 2003, right? So for me, I'm watching like holy shit! Like, is this how people see us? Like, are
uh,
they imagining that we were like a bunch of these, annoying, to use your terms, annoying, people, as it were?
mhm,
Because I felt like because I feel like millennials often get the short end of the stick. We're often blamed for everything, and everyone's like, yeah, they don't appreciate anything. And I feel like with this movie in particular, they're like saying, "Oh yeah, here's another reason why you should hate on millennials is because when they were younger, they were really, really obnoxious." And I'm watching them like, well, hold on, like, where are you getting your information from, really? Like, you're just painting us with a broad stroke. Um, I don't know. That was just my takeaway, in watching this
that's
because
that's interesting because I would agree with you if I thought the writers had any ability to be that creative with their characterizations.
I
I
guess I'm
think it was
giving
just
it.
bad writing.
I guess I'm
Uh,
just giving it more credence than it deserves. I don't
yes,
know.
yeah, because I would just describe it as bad writing because each of the characters, like they try to like give them a little bit of characterization. Like you kind of have like the one meek girl. One of them was like really good with like I don't know, she was like really good with numbers and science and some stuff, but then it doesn't really play a role into anything. Like I just didn't get what they were trying to do with them. They just are just like three nobodies, right? And that's how they're pretty much treated through the whole thing. So, Cassie, they're all together on a subway, right? They all just seem to gather together by chance at the subway. And this is where Sims, right? Sims.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna have to keep asking that because it's just it totally goes over my head. So Sims tries to get them on a train, and I like how Cassie, gets them off the subway, and I like how in this sequence, right, you see the villain, Sims, right? He's sitting there, he's like beating up all these cops, but then he doesn't attack the 3 girls that he wants to kill. And it's just like, you can't show this guy like picking off cops this whole time, because it's like, okay, all you had to do was just like, I don't know, push one of the girls into the subway tracks and probably kill her. Like, you just can't do that. And it was really distracted to me that they're trying to show how strong this villain is, but then when he has clear opportunities to kill the people he wants to kill, he just ignores them for some reason.
But you're forgetting that Cassie has precognition, so she's able to stay one step ahead of him.
I mean, yes, even though we actually only see her having a precognition of her getting arrested, which is the only time we actually see it work. So like you said, maybe that could be going on, but visually didn't really help show any of that. But yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. So, Cassie ends up stealing a taxi, brings the girls to like a random spot in the forest, and just is like, hey girls, I need you, 3 very vulnerable teenagers to stay here in the woods while I go back to my house to go do some research. And
she just leaves them there.
Yeah, it just like leaves them like out of the middle of nowhere, like no idea where the hell this is, just leaves them out there. So, of course, the girls are not going to listen, right? Like, we already know that.
I mean,
a bunch of idiots.
But to be fair, that would be a really, really normal response if you got kidnapped by this strange lady who's like, you don't know me, but I'm going, but you got to trust me. I'm going to protect you from this weirdo who's going around trying to kill you. Oh, I'm just going to leave you in the woods for like, 5 or 6 hours while I go back to my place. But don't go anywhere because I may come back.
Yes, no, it is very jarring. And to me, what makes it even worse is like, these characters in their infinite wisdom were like, we're hungry, which, fine, whatever. You got to move the story along. They go to this diner, right? Number one, you already know that people think you're kidnapped, so like people are paying attention for you 3 people, right? And they go to this diner, and then they get on a fucking tabletop and start dancing. Like, what is this shit? Like, I just like absolutely was floored when I saw that.
It's an homage to it's an homage to Coyote Ugly. Come on.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. How can I forget that very clear connection?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm just, like, watching this, just who thinks that people do this? Like, these are not human beings, right? They're not acting like normal people. Nobody is going to some diner and dancing on a tabletop in front of guys. Like, who does this? It just totally took me out of the movie, which is bad because I'm already really out of it. But that was just the icing on the cake, so to speak. So, obviously they get found out, and because they're being stupid and drawing attention to them in the most absolutely dumbest way possible, the villain shows up, and then Cassie, luckily, she has a vision of her getting her butt kicked. So then instead of, trying to fight him hand to hand, she just hits him with the taxi, right? And that's how we're able to have the girls get saved this time, is by Sims getting hit by a taxi cab, and they're able to pull the girls, and they go to a hotel. And then it's just like you have kind of this minor scene with the hotel, and then Cassie in her infinite wisdom was like, well, I left you guys alone in the forest for a few hours, so now I need to do something different. I need to go to Peru, where my mom was. Even though, I'm sure you're trying to go to some like random place in Peru, like some type of rainforest area out in the middle of nowhere. So of course, like an EMT that has no experience with this, like, are you really telling me that I have to expect that she's going to go out there and find this spider tribe, right? Which is what she wants to do. So that's her plan. She's like, well, girls, I'm going to leave you with Uncle Ben for a week while I go do this mission to go talk to these spider people out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, but don't forget, Mary Parker's pregnant and her husband Richard's nowhere to be seen, and she is. I'm no expert in pregnancy, but she looks like she's about to burst anytime.
Yes, she absolutely looks that way, and once again, right, that's just our tie-in to Spider-Man, because we have to have that as a a plot point in this that she's near birth, right? So that's what ends up happening. So while she's out in the rainforest, right, she discovers more about her powers, and there's the nice little line that they always try to throw in with Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility, and we get whatever, we get another variation of that in this discussion, and obviously it doesn't really sync the same, but it is what it is. So now we have Cassie returning from this jungle after learning more about her spider powers from the spider tribe, and we find out that, like you said, Mary Parker, she's now about to give birth, right? So Uncle Ben has this dilemma now, right? So they've been safe at the house for a week. So I'm going to pose this question to you, Luca. So do you think Ben should do option A, which is have the girls stay at his house where they've been safe this whole time without any issues? Or do you think B, it's better for him to take the girls out into the busy world of New York City in order to go to the hospital? Which do you think is better, A or B?
Well, neither one. They should just go to Peru.
I mean, yeah, that would be true too. Yes, I guess option C would have made a ton more sense in hindsight, because that would have made more sense. But if you had to go with A or B, and I had to make you make a choice, which one do you think is better? Staying at the house or going out into the city and going to this hospital?
Well, seeing as I don't really care, I'm just going to say let's go to the hospital.
Okay, well, it sounds like you're more focused on wanting to murder them, because I think any sensible person would be like, you know what? Let's just have them stay at the house where they're away from everything, because, we've never seen any type of interaction or any type of concern that anyone's following them. But yeah, so of course, as Ben and Mary Parker are going out there to the hospital, you have Sims show up, and this is once again where the amazing ability of Cassie pulls in, because this time while she's driving an ambulance, she runs or hits Sims, and the second time that we've watched her use her vehicle to kind of take out the villain there.
So Sims doesn't have precognition, like he doesn't know, this chick is going to drive along in a vehicle and run him over, right?
No, he just seems to have a random vision of these three girls killing him, but then seems to have total blinders on to everything else.
Okay, I'm just
that's
making
what it
sure.
like to me. So yeah, so we pretty much have, this is where we get to the climax of it, where we're at this fireworks storage warehouse, I think, that has a giant Pepsi logo on top. Don't ask, because I have no idea. And pretty much Cassie and the three girls are trying to escape or to defeat the villain. They eventually do defeat the villain, or I guess a Pepsi sign falls on him, and I guess kills the villain. And Cassie falls into the water, and she gets hit by a firework that not only blinds her, but also paralyzes her, which I have no idea. Did you put together how she got paralyzed? Did I miss something in that sequence?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is she probably hit the water really, really, really hard. But
I guess so. Yes, I guess that is a possibility.
But at the same time, I mean, if you have a lot of debris like falling into the water before you, I imagine that would kind of, soften the surface a little bit, so you're, not hitting it like you would, say, the sidewalk. But
yeah,
I guess physics works differently in that universe. I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah, she got paralyzed somehow, right? We're just gonna roll with it. I kind of jokingly said, like, I guess maybe the girls were so bad at doing CPR that they paralyzed her in the process. I don't know. Because there's, of course, this nice little moment where they're doing CPR, which Cassie taught them earlier.
I guess they must have cracked a vertebrae by accident.
Yeah, they were just so bad at it. This is what happened. So, but yeah, so, and this ties into the fact that the villain has premonition of these girls having spider powers, yet his demise comes at this instant, and I guess we assume he's dead. Like, I guess we don't technically see it, so I don't know if they're like maybe pops up in the future. Maybe he's not really, really dead. I don't know. But it doesn't really seem like if he is dead, then it seems like his powers were wrong. And I guess maybe Cassie's powers overrode his powers. I don't know. Maybe there's some weird power dynamic there with powers, but it kind of ends with, I guess, Cassie. She almost adopts the girls because they all have this bad home life. So it's almost kind of implies like now they kind of make this weird family. And then we have this kind of this closing cinematic of, you know, her kind of being the leader of over these three girls, which of course we still don't know how they got their powers, but they show us once again all the girls donning their spider costumes, and only one of them we really know have powers. The other three we have literally no clue what or how they got them.
I mean, does it even matter though? I mean,
no, it doesn't. It really doesn't, because I mean they clearly want this to probably have some type of sequel. It won't get it. This was terrible.
Yeah, and Dakota Johnson herself, she said she's never doing another superhero movie after Madam Web. So
I don't blame her.
Yeah,
I don't blame any of them.
Yeah, so good luck trying to, get her to come back.
Yeah, I mean it was dreadful. The whole thing was dreadful. It was so boring. The acting was horrendous. Like none of them felt like real people acting, right? It just was like I would imagine seeing this on like on like a shitty TV show, not something that you're pumping out this much money for in a huge cinematic universe. So I mean, it just fell flat across the board, and honestly, people should not go watch this. It was bad.
So what's your
any
overall
final thoughts for you?
Well, I was gonna say, like, I mean, it's inconsistent overall. I mean, the powers are inconsistent, the characters are inconsistent, the storyline is inconsistent because, on the one hand, they're building up this expectation that these three girls are going to kill Sims, and then at the end, it's Cassie who kills Sims, and then which leads me to believe they can't make up their mind as to how they want to do this, or they think they're trying to do something clever with the twist, but they messed up the twist in the process. What would your overall score be for this movie?
Yeah, I mean, this was really dull. I didn't have too many high points for it. I will say, and I forget the actor's name, but the one that played Ben Parker, I thought was pretty good in this. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would give this 1.5 spider people out of 5. It really had very few redeeming qualities about it. And I just don't know what Sony's gonna do from here. I think they just need to stop with this universe and just let it lie.
Or either that, or just let Kevin Feige handle all Spider-Man movies going forward.
Yeah, that's also an option.
I mean, because the last Spider-Man movie, what was it? No Way Home. I mean, that did pretty good.
Oh yeah,
in the box office, and it was a thoroughly enjoyable movie. So,
yep, yeah, I agree. But I will say, I think nostalgia probably played a fairly significant factor in that. But I do agree. Overall, the movie was good. I don't want to totally take away from it, but I think nostalgia probably played a very significant factor in that for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to say probably 1.6 spider people. Just because, if nothing else, it was nice to see Sydney Sweeney in a schoolgirl outfit. I mean, there's really nothing about that movie that made me sit up and think, oh, wow, I wonder what's going to happen next. I mean, the thing that really, really annoys me is the fact that this, I don't know if he's like a shaman or what. Like, when Cassie returns, he's like, "Oh, I've been waiting for you," and I'm like, "How the hell would he even know who she is?" Like, I'm sure like a lot of people pass through that jungle, throughout the years, throughout those 30 years since she, she was born, but somehow he just happens to know, "Oh yeah, it's you. Like, I've been waiting for you. You have to go into the water now and learn, the entire truth." I'm like, so has he just been sitting there waiting for this entire time?
Yeah,
there are just so many elements. There are just so many elements that just made me stop and think, okay, like this makes no sense. I need more exposition, like a lot more exposition. To your point, like how did Cassie, get back to the U.S.? I mean, she also mentioned too that she was in foster care. I'm sure.
Hmm.
I'm sure that must have been an interesting adventure. But but I also want to know, like, how did she happen to have all of her mother's research notes? Like,
Yeah.
because she goes back to the apartment, she just pulls down, and starts going over. I'm like, hold on a second. So she was in foster care, right? So presumably her foster parents probably didn't tell her that much about what happened to her mother because they probably don't want to traumatize the kid, right? How did she get her hands on these notes? Do they just
The
happen to
spider
have them?
people, they not only bought her
Apparently,
plane tickets to go back, they also left all the research material with her because there's nobody else alive after the incident, right? Like we
exactly,
see
because it kills
Sims
everybody
runs
in the
away,
camp.
the other researchers are dead. So yeah, the spider people just helped out, man. They work in mysterious ways.
So apparently, if you have any questions as to how things in that movie work, the answer's simple: the spider people, because
Yes.
apparently they can do anything. I mean, I will say this: like, wouldn't it make more sense for Cassie to just, I don't know, live with the spider people? 'Cause, I mean, to me that would make a lot more sense. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I
they
guess
would have something, or at least show like maybe for a few years she was like training with them or something, like just to kind of maybe get a little bit of taste of her powers, and then they send her back or something.
because that would make
There's a
more
lot you can
sense.
do.
That would make a lot more sense instead of her just randomly getting these visions and her asking, well, what the heck is going on here? Like,
Yes.
like if she had lived with the spider people for like the first 5 years of her life, she would at least have an inkling of what happened. So when these visions do happen, she kind of knows where to go, right?
Yes.
But I don't know. I just think it's also weird that she happens to go back to the same spot, but the
Oh
same
yes,
spot.
of course.
It,
Yes.
it's like it's like she's kind of like one of those birds who flies south for the winter. Like they just happen to know where to go. Like she just happens to know, oh, I need to go to this cave and look into this pool. Oh, and look, there's that shaman who just happens to, well, instead of being half naked, now he's wearing clothes this time, which was another jarring factor for me. I don't know. I mean, there are just so many things about that movie. They just make you scratch your head and wonder, like, why would they even bother? Like I said before, like they must have amnesia at Sony because they didn't learn a damn thing from their last outing. But that's going to do it for our review of Madam Web. Let us know down in the comments below what you think, if you agree with our assessment, or if you think we're talking nonsense. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next review.